Ethan Wilson, a 38-year-old tech consultant from Seattle, stepped into his home after a long day, hoping for a quiet evening. Instead, a bomb awaited. His wife, Emily, 36, sat at the kitchen table, scrolling through her phone with an indifferent look. Without a greeting or hint of warmth, she looked up and said, "Ethan, I want a divorce." Her voice was cold, like she was ordering coffee, not dismantling their decade-long marriage. Ethan froze, his bag still slung over his shoulder. "Sorry, what?" he asked, trying to stay calm as a storm brewed in his chest. Emily sighed as if he was forcing her to state the obvious. "I said I want a divorce. This isn't working. I need someone who actually does something, not just coasts." Her words hit like a slap. Ethan blinked, suppressing a laugh rising in his throat. Coasts? She didn't know he earned $750,000 a year managing projects for tech giants. Ethan deliberately hid his success, keeping finances under wraps to maintain a simple life. Emily never asked about his work, assuming he was average. And now she sat there, accusing him of inertia. "Seriously?" he asked, leaning against the counter to steady himself. Emily crossed her arms, her gaze dripping with contempt. "I can't live like this, Ethan. You're not who I expected. I need a real life." Her audacity was almost comical, but Ethan didn't show it. He just nodded. "Fine, Emily. If that's your call, I won't hold you back." She tilted her head, clearly expecting an outburst or begging. But Ethan set his bag down and walked to the bedroom, feeling her stare bore into his back. In the bedroom's silence, he sat on the bed's edge, replaying her words. This wasn't just about divorce. It was about power. Emily wanted to humiliate him, paint him as a failure. But she didn't know she'd just lit a match that would burn her world down. Ethan wasn't who she thought. And he was going to prove it, not with shouts, but with actions. The next days tested his patience. Emily suddenly found fault in everything, how he folded clothes, spent evenings, even brewed coffee. Her jabs were like needles, aimed at justifying her choice. Then came Jake, his best friend, or, as Ethan now realized, no friend at all. At first, Emily mentioned Jake casually. Jake said this place is cool, she'd toss out about a new restaurant. Jake recommended this book. Ethan nodded, brushing it off. Jake, a 40-year-old realtor with a charming smile, had been part of their lives for years. But now his name carried a warmth in Emily's voice that knotted Ethan's stomach. The first real alarm rang on Saturday. Emily returned from lunch with Jake, cheeks flushed, her laugh ringing in a way Ethan hadn't heard in years. "What's so funny?" he asked, trying to sound casual. She waved it off. "Oh, just a Jake joke. You wouldn't get it." Those words, "you wouldn't get it," seared into his memory. Since when was he an outsider in his own marriage? Ethan started noticing more secretive texts Emily typed with a sly smile, her phone locking quickly when he approached. Her outfits for friend meetups grew fancier. And whenever he hinted at her behavior, she accused him of paranoia. "You're overthinking, Ethan." He didn't confront her. What was the point? She'd only deny it, twisting things to make him seem like a jealous loser. Instead, Ethan observed. Every gesture, every mention of Jake filed away in his mind like evidence in a case. He didn't rush. If Emily and Jake thought they could fool him, they underestimated him. That was their first mistake. The real blow came a week later when Jake showed up uninvited. Ethan was packing. Emily had insisted he move out by month's end. The doorbell rang, and there stood Jake, smirking smugly. "Ethan, buddy," he exclaimed as if they were still brothers. "How's it going?" Ethan clenched his jaw, barely resisting the urge to wipe that smile off. "What do you want, Jake?" he asked, keeping his voice even. Jake strolled in uninvited, leaning casually against the wall. "Just checking in. Emily said you're moving out. Thought you might need help." "Help?" From the man stealing his wife. The gall was staggering. Ethan turned to him slowly, his stare making Jake flinch slightly. "I've got it," he said curtly. Jake tried to pivot, rambling about life being tough, but Ethan wasn't buying it. "Listen, Jake," he said, stepping closer, "life's unpredictable. Sometimes it turns around and bites. Remember that." Jake's confidence wavered, his smile fading. He mumbled something awkward and hurried out, tossing a "no offense, right?" Ethan didn't reply. Silence was his weapon. As Jake's car vanished around the corner, Ethan exhaled, anger giving way to cold resolve. Emily and Jake thought they were on top, blind to the cracks beneath them. Ethan was already collecting evidence, screenshots of their texts from Emily's old tablet, receipts from cafes where they met, even GPS data from her phone showing their lunches at a hotel out of town. He wasn't going to make a scene. No, he'd let them dig their own grave while he crafted the perfect plan. That night, lying in the bed that would soon no longer be his, Ethan recalled their wedding. Emily in her white dress, her laugh as they danced under the stars. The memory stung, but it only fueled his resolve. Betrayal didn't just break his heart, it freed him. Emily and Jake thought they'd written him off. They were wrong. This was a game, and Ethan was going to win quietly, ruthlessly, flawlessly. Ethan Wilson settled into his new downtown Seattle loft, the city lights a silent backdrop to his thoughts. At 38, he'd left behind the house and the wreckage of his marriage to Emily, her betrayal still raw. Her words, "I need someone who does something," stung, blind to his $750,000 a year tech consulting career. She and Jake, his former best friend, thought he was a nobody. They were wrong, and Ethan would prove it not with shouts, but with a calculated plan. A week after Emily's divorce demand and Jake's smug visit, Ethan hadn't confronted them. He'd moved out, leaving Emily the house she demanded. She didn't know it was leased, a detail hidden in papers she never read. Ethan smirked, picturing her shock when the landlord called. For now, he let them gloat, their laughter a taunt in his mind. They thought they'd won. They hadn't seen his first move. Ethan sat at his desk, laptop open. Screenshots from Emily's old tablet glowed on the screen, flirty texts with Jake, plans for lunch at a hotel across town. He'd pulled GPS data from her phone, mapping their meetups, and found receipts from cafes where they played couple. Each piece was evidence, not for a fight, but to let their lies unravel them. This wasn't revenge. It was justice, and Ethan would rise while they fell. The divorce talks started fast. In a stark conference room, Emily, 36, sat across from Ethan, her tailored blazer sharp, her smirk sharper. Her lawyer listed demands: the house, half his savings, a slice of his small income. She expected a battle. Ethan didn't blink. "Fine," he said, signing each paper. Her lawyer paused, surprised. Emily's smirk wavered. "You're okay with this?" she asked, a crack in her confidence. Ethan met her gaze. "It's what you want, right?" She nodded, but her eyes lingered, searching for a trap. She found none yet. Back at his loft, Ethan's phone buzzed. A mutual friend, Sarah, texted, "Emily's telling people you gave up without a fight. She's bragging." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Let her talk." He replied, "Thanks for the heads up." Sarah added, "She's with Jake all the time now. Be careful." Ethan didn't respond. Careful wasn't his plan. Strategic was. He dug deeper. A forgotten email on Emily's tablet revealed a hotel booking from months ago when she'd claimed a work trip. The dates matched Jake's business conference. Ethan's stomach churned, but he saved the email. This wasn't just an affair, it was a calculated betrayal planned for months. The realization hardened his resolve. He wouldn't lash out. He'd let their choices bury them. Days later, Ethan walked into a coffee shop, grabbing a latte before a client call. He froze. Emily sat in the corner, alone, her face pale. She spotted him and stood, hesitating before approaching. "Ethan," she said, voice soft, "can we talk?" He raised an eyebrow, setting his cup down. "About what?" She fidgeted, glancing away. Things are moving fast. Maybe we rush this." Her eyes flicked to his, testing. Ethan's pulse quickened, but his face stayed stone. "You wanted this, Emily. You and Jake." Her cheeks flushed. "It's not like that," she stammered. "We're just figuring things out." Ethan leaned in, voice low. "Don't lie to me. I know about the hotel, the lunches. I know everything." Her eyes widened, lips parting, but no words came. He stepped back. "Enjoy the house," he said, turning away. As he left, his phone buzzed, a voicemail from Jake. "Hey, man, no hard feelings, right? Come by the house sometime, we'll chill." The audacity made Ethan's blood boil, but he saved the message. Another brick in the wall. That night, Ethan reviewed his evidence, texts, emails, receipts, GPS logs. He wasn't building a case for court, he was building their downfall. Emily thought she'd won the house, but the lease ended in 2 months. Jake thought he'd stolen Ethan's life, but his real estate deals were crumbling, whispers of bad investments circling. Ethan had checked. Their perfect life was a house of cards, and he held the breeze. His phone rang. An unknown number. "Mr. Wilson? This is the landlord for your old house," a gruff voice said. "Your wife's dodging my calls about the lease ending. Thought you should know." Ethan's lips curved. "Thanks. I'll handle it." He wouldn't. Let Emily deal with the fallout. He hung up, staring at the city below. A memory surfaced, their first date, Emily's laugh under a starry sky. He'd loved her once. That Ethan was gone, replaced by one who played to win. Ethan opened his laptop, drafting an email to a client about a $1.2 million deal he was closing. His career was soaring, untouched by Emily's chaos. She and Jake thought they'd broken him. Instead, they'd freed him. He glanced at a photo on his desk, their wedding, her smile radiant. He considered tossing it, then set it down. Not yet. It was a reminder betrayal had sparked his rise. They'd regret underestimating him. For now he waited, his plan unfolding in silence. Ethan Wilson stood in his Seattle loft, the city's pulse humming beyond the windows. At 38, he was rebuilding, his $750,000 a year tech consulting career thriving despite Emily's betrayal. Her divorce demand and Jake's smug betrayal had lit a fire in him, not for revenge, but for justice. He'd let them have the house, knowing it was leased, a ticking bomb Emily never saw coming. Now, weeks later, their perfect world was fraying and Ethan watched, his plan unfolding in silence. Emily, 36, and Jake, 40, thought they'd won. They flaunted their new life, posting photos from trendy bars, Emily's captions dripping with confidence. Ethan saw through it. His evidence, texts, hotel receipts, GPS data sat ready, but he held back. Let them dig their own grave. His phone buzzed with a text from Sarah, their mutual friend. Emily's acting like she's on top, but I heard she bounced a check at a cafe. Trouble in paradise? Ethan typed back, thanks. Keep me posted. He wasn't surprised. Jake's real estate deals were tanking and Emily's spending was reckless. The cracks were showing. At a tech conference, Ethan pitched a $1.2 million deal, his confidence sharp. As he spoke, his phone vibrated, a call from an unknown number. He ignored it, but a voicemail followed. Mr. Wilson, it's the landlord. Your ex-wife's 3 weeks late on the lease payment. Eviction notice goes out soon. Ethan's lips twitched. Emily thought the house was hers. She'd learn the truth soon enough. He saved the message, another piece of his quiet strategy falling into place. Back at his loft, Ethan scrolled through Emily's social media. Her latest post showed her and Jake at a rooftop party, but the comments were off. Sarah had mentioned friends pulling away, tired of Emily's lies about Ethan abandoning her. He remembered their coffee shop encounter, her nervous plea, maybe we rushed this. He'd shut her down, revealing he knew about their hotel meetups. Her shock had been palpable, but he'd walked away, letting her stew. Now, her desperation was growing. A week later, Ethan grabbed coffee at his usual spot. As he waited, a familiar laugh caught his ear. Jake sat across the room, not with Emily, but with a new woman, their hands brushing. Ethan's grip tightened on his cup. Jake, the loyal friend, was already straying. He snapped a discreet photo, adding it to his evidence. If Emily thought Jake was her future, she was in for another betrayal. Ethan left, a grim satisfaction settling in. Their house of cards was wobbling. That evening, Sarah called. Ethan, it's bad. Emily and Jake had a huge fight at a bar. She threw a drink at him, screaming about money. People recorded it. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Send me the video. Minutes later, he watched Emily's meltdown, her voice shrill, Jake's face red as he stormed off. The clip was grainy, but the chaos was clear. Ethan saved it, not for spite, but for leverage. Their facade was crumbling faster than he'd expected. His phone pinged again, a text from Emily. Ethan, we need to talk. Please. He stared at the words, her tone a far cry from her smug divorce demands. He didn't reply. Let her sweat. Another text followed. I'm sorry. Can we meet? Ethan's jaw clenched. Sorry for what? The affair? The lies? Or the mess she'd made? He typed, no need. You made your choice, and hit send. Her reply was instant, it's not what you think. I'm in trouble. Ethan set the phone down. Trouble was her own making. The next day, Ethan met a client downtown. As he left, he spotted Emily outside a pawn shop, clutching a bag, her face drawn. She didn't see him. He watched her duck inside, likely selling something to cover debts. Jake's bad deals and her extravagance had drained them. Ethan felt a pang, not pity, but a ghost of the love he'd once had. He shook it off. She'd chosen this path. He walked away, his focus on the $1.2 million deal he'd just closed. Back home, Ethan opened his laptop, reviewing his evidence, texts, receipts, the bar fight video, the photo of Jake's new fling. He wasn't planning a public shaming, but he'd be ready if they pushed him. A new email popped up from Jake's real estate partner, forwarded by a contact. It detailed Jake's missed payments on a major project, his credibility shot. Ethan archived it. The noose was tightening, not by his hand, but by their own. His phone rang Sarah again. Ethan, the landlord served Emily an eviction notice today. She's freaking out calling Jake, but he's not answering. Ethan leaned back, exhaling. The leased house, his ace, had played out. Emily's dream life was collapsing, and Jake was nowhere to be found. Thanks, Sarah, he said. Let me know if she reaches out. He hung up, staring at their old wedding photo on his desk. He kept it as a reminder of what betrayal cost. Now it fueled his rise. Ethan stood, gazing at the city. Emily and Jake thought they'd buried him. Instead, they'd unleashed him. His career soared, his plan clicked into place, and their world unraveled. The next move was theirs, but Ethan was ready. Whatever came, he'd face it not with anger, but with the calm of a man who'd already won. Ethan Wilson strode through his Seattle office, the buzz of his tech consulting firm a testament to his $750,000 a year success. At 38, he turned Emily's betrayal into fuel, her divorce demand and Jake's treachery sharpening his focus. The leased house he'd let Emily claim was now her undoing. Eviction loomed as her and Jake's lavish life crumbled. Ethan's evidence, texts, receipts, a bar fight video, Jake's new fling sat ready, not for vengeance, but for leverage. He'd watched their facade crack, now they'd come to him. Weeks after Emily's desperate texts, Ethan's phone stayed silent. Her pleas, "I'm in trouble," had gone unanswered. Jake's voicemail inviting him to chill at the house was a saved relic of arrogance. Their world was imploding. Jake's real estate deals tanked, Emily faced eviction, and their public fight had gone viral among friends. Ethan, meanwhile, had closed a $1.2 million deal, his career untouchable. He didn't gloat. He waited, knowing they'd break first. That morning, Ethan prepped for a client meeting when his assistant knocked. "Two people are here to see you. They don't have an appointment." Ethan frowned, glancing at his calendar. "Names?" She hesitated. "Emily Wilson and Jake Carter." His pulse spiked, but his face stayed calm. "Send them in." He leaned back in his chair, ready for the showdown he'd foreseen since Emily's cold divorce demand. Emily entered first, her usual polish gone, a hair messy, eyes red. Jake followed, his charm replaced by a scowl. They stood awkwardly in Ethan's sleek office, the city skyline framing him like a throne. "What do you want?" Ethan asked, voice even. Emily shifted, clutching her purse. "Ethan, we need to talk. Things are bad." Jake cut in, forcing a grin. "Yeah man, just a rough patch. We could use a hand." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "A hand? After they'd stabbed him in the back?" He leaned forward, folding his hands. "A hand with what? The eviction notice? Jake's busted deals? Or maybe the woman you were cozying up with last week?" Jake's grin vanished, his face paling. Emily's head snapped to Jake. "What woman?" she hissed. Jake stammered, "He's lying, Em." Ethan opened his laptop, turning it to show the photo from the coffee shop, Jake's hand brushing his new flings. Emily's breath caught, her eyes welling up. "You bastard," she whispered. Ethan stayed calm. "I'm not here to play referee. You both made choices. Why are you here?" Emily's voice cracked. "The house, the landlord's kicking me out. I thought it was ours. And we're broke, Ethan. I'm selling jewelry to eat." Jake jumped in, desperate. "Come on, man, we're friends. Lend us some cash just to get by." Ethan's gaze hardened. "Friends?" He stood, towering over them. "You slept with my wife, Jake. You called me a loser, Emily. Now you want my money?" Emily sobbed, burying her face in her hands. "I'm sorry, Ethan. I was wrong. I didn't know about you, your job." Ethan's jaw tightened. Her apology was too late, born of desperation, not regret. He pulled a folder from his desk, sliding it across. "These are copies of your texts, hotel receipts, GPS logs. I've got the bar fight video, Jake's deal failures, everything. One email, and our friends, your clients, everyone sees who you really are." Jake lunged forward. "You wouldn't dare." Ethan didn't flinch. "Try me." The room fell silent, Emily's sobs the only sound. Jake slumped back, defeated. "What do you want?" he muttered. Ethan crossed his arms. "Nothing. I don't need anything from you. You've done enough." Emily looked up, tears streaking her face. "Please, Ethan. Help us. For old time's sake." He paused, a memory flashing, their wedding, her radiant smile. It hurt, but it didn't sway him. "Old times are gone," he said. "You chose this. Live with it." He walked to the door, holding it open. "Leave. Don't come back." Jake glared, but Emily grabbed his arm, pulling him out. As they shuffled past, she whispered, "I loved you once." Ethan met her gaze, unflinching. "So did I." The door closed, cutting them off. He exhaled, the weight of their betrayal lifting. They were no longer his burden. Back at his desk, Ethan opened an email from his client, confirming the $1.2 million deal. His phone buzzed. Sarah, their friend. Emily's crashing with a cousin. Jake bailed, moved in with some woman. They're done. Ethan nodded to himself. The house of cards had fallen just as he'd planned. He glanced at their wedding photo, still on his desk. He picked it up, then set it in a drawer. Not out of anger, but closure. Ethan stood, gazing at the city. Emily and Jake were ghosts of his past. Their lies exposed, their lives in ruins. He'd won not by sinking to their level but by rising above. His career, his peace, his future were his. The final piece of his plan was complete. Whatever came next, he was ready. A man forged by betrayal, now unstoppable. Ethan Wilson stood on the balcony of his Seattle loft, the city's skyline a canvas of possibility. At 38, he transformed the pain of Emily's betrayal into a springboard for success. Her divorce demand, Jake's treachery, and their smug belief he was a nobody had fueled his rise. His $750,000 a year tech consulting career had soared to new heights, while Emily and Jake's world collapsed under the weight of their lies. The leased house, Ethan's silent ace, had triggered their downfall. Now, with their confrontation behind him, Ethan was free. Months had passed since Emily and Jake stormed into his office, begging for help. Their desperation, Emily's tears, Jake's failed bravado, had been the final act of their unraveling. Ethan hadn't needed to use his evidence. Texts, receipts, the bar fight video, or Jake's new fling. Their own choices had done the work. He'd sent them away, closing the door on a decade of marriage and friendship. The sting of betrayal lingered, but it no longer defined him. He'd won, not by destroying them, but by rebuilding himself. Ethan's phone buzzed, a text from Sarah, their mutual friend. Emily's working retail now, barely scraping by. Jake's reputation is toast, blacklisted by every realtor in town. Ethan didn't reply. He'd heard enough. Emily, 36, had moved to a cramped apartment, her designer wardrobe sold off. Jake, 40, was couch surfing, his new fling long gone. The house they'd fought for was released to new tenants, their dream life a memory. Ethan felt no joy in their ruin, only a quiet resolve. They'd made their bed. At his office, Ethan finalized a $1.5 million deal, his firm's biggest yet. Colleagues clapped as he signed the contract, his calm confidence a far cry from the man Emily had called a loser. He'd hired 2 new consultants, expanded his team, and was eyeing a second office in San Francisco. His success wasn't just financial, it was personal. Betrayal had forced him to confront his own worth, and he'd emerged stronger. He glanced at his desk, now bare of the wedding photo he'd tucked away. That chapter was closed. Ethan's thoughts turned to the future. He'd started mentoring young tech professionals, sharing lessons from his career and his scars. One evening, at a local charity event, he met Lisa, a sharp nonprofit director helping betrayed spouses rebuild. Her warmth and drive reminded him of the man he'd been before cynicism took root. They talked for hours, her laugh easing a knot in his chest. It wasn't love. Not yet. But it was a spark, a sign he could trust again. He left the event lighter, hopeful. The next day, Ethan donated $10,000 to Lisa's charity, not for show, but because he understood the pain of being blindsided. He thought of Emily's final plea, "I loved you once," and his response, "So did I." He didn't hate her, nor Jake. They were shadows, their consequences self-inflicted. Ethan had spent years hiding his success to keep life simple, but their betrayal had taught him to embrace it. He wasn't just surviving, he was thriving. A week later, Ethan spoke at a tech conference, his keynote on resilience drawing a standing ovation. As he stepped off stage, his phone pinged, an email from a former client, offering a partnership that could double his firm's reach. He smiled, forwarding it to his team. His life was full. Work, mentorship, new connections like Lisa. The wounds of betrayal had healed, leaving scars that reminded him of his strength. That night, Ethan walked through Pike Place Market, the air sharp with autumn chill. He passed a stall selling photo frames, and a memory surfaced. Their wedding, Emily's radiant smile. He paused, then kept walking. The pain was gone, replaced by clarity. He didn't need to forgive them. He needed to move on. At home, he pulled out a notebook, jotting down a letter he'd never send. "Emily, Jake, you thought you broke me. You didn't. You set me free. I'm living my best life. Not because of you, but despite you." He tore the page out, crumpled it, and tossed it away. Ethan's phone buzzed again. "Sarah. You okay?" Saw Emily at a diner. She looked rough. Ethan typed back, "I'm good. Wish her well." He meant it. Their downfall was their own, and he'd found peace in letting go. He stood, gazing at the city. The skyline wasn't just a view, it was his future, boundless and bright. Betrayal had been his crucible, forging a man who no longer hid his light. He thought of Lisa's charity, of the people he'd help, the lives he'd touch. Ethan wasn't just a success story, he was a beacon. Emily and Jake's lies had cost them everything, but Ethan had gained more than they could imagine. He stepped inside, closing the balcony door. The past was done. His story, his triumph, was just beginning.